So we have some red pesto. I'm using the Tesco's red pesto. 3 eggs, half an onion, small pepper, 3 mushrooms, and just a small amount of mascarpone cheese. Okay, so I've chopped all the veggies up. We've got the onion and pepper going into the pan first. Just got some olive oil heating in the pan. I'm going to put the onions, the peppers into the pan, and I'm going to cook these until they start getting a little bit soft. Then I'm going to add the mushrooms. I'm going to let the mushrooms cook through a little bit, and then that's when we start adding the egg. You want to put your so I've cut the onions, peppers and the mushrooms. I've put some oil into the pan, and just going to let the onions and peppers cook through a little bit just so that they start going soft. Then I'm going to add the mushrooms. In the meantime, if you can make sure that you put the grill on and the grill's quite warm, when we start actually cooking the frittata, we need to cook the top of the frittata in the grill. You'll see in a second. So the onions and peppers have now got a little bit softer, so it's time to add the mushrooms. Usually the onions and peppers take about 3 to 4 minutes to become soft before you add the mushrooms. What I've also done in the meantime is I've taken the 3 eggs, beaten them, and just left them in the jug. It just makes it a little easier to pour in after. So for the mushrooms, I think again about 3 minutes for it to cook. Really depends on how much you want to reduce the mushrooms. I usually cook it for about 3 to 4 minutes before I add the egg mixture. I've also put the grill on now, ready and warmed up. Temperature wise, it doesn't really matter. You want quite a high temperature. It's just going to cook the top of the frittata, cook some of the cheese and the pesto as well on top. So there you go. Mushrooms are cooked through now, so I'm going to add the egg mix. I've just quickly beaten the egg again. It just seems to help the frittata if you give it a quick beat before you pour it in. I've moved all the food away from the edge, so I've got a little bit of a gap between the end of the pan and the food. So I'm just going to pour the egg mixture over here now. Pan's on about a medium heat. So what you should see is the end of the egg that's connected to the pan will actually start cooking straight away. And what I want to do is just spread the mixture out a little bit so it's a little closer to the end of the pan there, and just keep going around the edge of the pan as it's cooking and just taking the spatula in. So what I'm looking for is the end of the pan will be quite firm, and you can stick the spatula underneath a little bit just to help loosen it off, and then that's when I'll put it into the onto the grill and let it grill. So the edge is now cooking. You can see where I've been taking the spatula across and just taking it away from the edge there, just lifting it under. And what you're going to get on the top is it's still going to be some uncooked egg, so if you just rotate it round, keep hitting the edge, and then again go back onto the heat and just take the spatula across so it keeps cooking. So the egg's just a little bit soft on top of the frittata, just there, but you can now get the spatula. The egg's still a little bit soft on top of the frittata, so we're going to bob that under the grill before we put some mascarpone cheese and some red pesto on there. You can see that the spatula can actually get underneath the frittata. I keep calling it frittata, but it's whether it's a traditional one, I'm not too sure. But you can see this is where a non-stick pan really pays off. So I'm going to bob this just under the grill, just for a couple of minutes, just to firm the top up, and then that's when I'll add the mascarpone cheese and the pesto on top. So the top is now firm. It's not fully cooked at the moment because we need to add our pesto and our mascarpone cheese. So I've added a tablespoon of pesto, that's the red stuff, and sprinkled it around the frittata. and I've added 2 teaspoons, not tablespoons, teaspoons of mascarpone cheese on top. I'm just going to bob that under the grill again. At this point the frittata is pretty much cooked, so when you move it, just run the spatula underneath the frittata just to loosen it off. It's just a lot easier to take it out. I've also put a plate to warm underneath the grill. Don't leave it in there too long because it will get really hot, but the frittata does get quite cold if you serve it on a cold plate very quickly. So the mascarpone cheese should melt. You can spread it out a little bit just to make sure you've got coverage of the mascarpone cheese and the pesto, just using either your spatula or a spoon just to move it over the top. So this is a real test whether you've you really have spent time just working your spatula underneath the frittata, because after wiggling it about a little bit, it should hopefully just go straight out and onto the plate. So just a quick try of this. Make sure I get a little bit of mascarpone because I absolutely love cheese.